My name is Jerome Perry. My cameraman is Alan Eggers. We're doing a video interview with Wilma Cookie Politis, a longtime Cedar Rapidian and a retiree of the Wilson's Meatpacking Company. Cookie, tell us when and where you were born.
Well, I was born in Johnson County, August 6th, 1915, on a farm.
Near any town?
Swisher, near Swisher.
What was your parents' names?
Anna and Joseph Zach, Z-A-C-H.
What was your mother's maiden name?
Raymond.
Was this anywhere near Sioux Falls?
Yes. It was just about 3.5 miles or 4 miles from Sioux Falls.
Was Sioux Falls, when you began to know where Sioux Falls was there any people living there? Was there a business place?
Oh yes, Zeidhamels had a grocery store there, and we used to take the Interurban from Cedar Rapids and get off at Sioux Falls or Swisher, and then go home on the farm.
And then later years, of course, there was a ranch supper club there.
Oh yes, and when I was just real young, the Zeidhamels had a dance floor there. And 4th of July was the biggest day, and Saturdays we'd go up there and have dances. They'd have bands there. That little pavilion outside by Sioux Falls there.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, I had. There was 4 sisters.
What was their names?
Well, the oldest was Anna Novak and Agnes Stuniak and Carrie Beranek and Eleanor Lavacek. And I had 4 brothers.
Their names?
There was Joe, Zach, George, Milo, and Wes, and one passed away when he was an infant, so there was 10 of us.
Where did you come in the lineup?
I'm the youngest.
The youngest of...
youngest of 10.
Yeah. Did you speak English as children, or did your folks taught you
Yes.
the
When
Czech
I was
language?
little, all I could take was to talk was Czech.
I imagine you went to country school.
Yes. I went to DuPont school there, yeah.
Did you know any English by the time you went to school?
Oh, yes. Then they broke down and... But they were just real Czech people, although they were both born in this country.
What was the name of the school, country school?
DuPont.
And where was it located?
Up there by DuPont Cemetery. You know, just a little ways. We had about I don't know how far that was to walk up there.
You have any memories of country school? Did they have indoor plumbing?
Indoor what?
Indoor plumbing?
Oh, heavens no. Pot belly stove. Carried the water from the neighbors in a bucket. Everybody drank out of it.
Everybody drank out of the same dipper?
Yes. It was terrible.
In the wintertime, you come in from recess all wet, and everybody put their clothes around the stove.
Oh, yes. And we had fun. We played baseball a lot.
How about in the wintertime?
Well, I don't know. There wasn't too much to do. We'd go out sliding down the hills.
Do you remember your teachers? Did they go out and play with you during recess?
Well, not too much. Not too much.
You ever remember any bad storms when you was a little kid?
Well,
when you was in school or
we had to walk. I had to walk. Oh, I don't know. Would that be I don't know whether it be a mile or where to school. And, the snowbanks. And then we had deep snow. And we didn't wear long slacks. It was dresses. And I remember through those snowbanks, we used to go in there and our legs would bleed cut out from the snow. And then we had to walk that far to get our mail also. It was right there by the school. That's why we had to walk to get our mail and newspaper.
Did you have to wear them brown cotton socks?
Oh, yes, it was awful.
Stockings?
But that was the style, so you didn't feel bad.
Did you have to wear them when you started to becoming a teenager? Were you still wearing those? Were girls still wearing those?
Well, as long as they wore them, I had to wear what the rest of them wore.
How about, you didn't have any electricity in the school?
No, kerosene lamps. And we played basketball, and my goodness, hit those little lamps, and but it was fun.
Yeah.
That's all we knew, and it was.
Did you put on a Christmas program for the neighborhood?
Oh yes, we had programs and had to get up on the stage, learn parts. It was fun.
Did they tie up a sheet across
No doubt.
one end of the school?
No doubt.
Did you then after when you graduated after in 8th grade? Did you go to high school
No,
or did you?
no.
You did.
I had to stay on the farm and work.
How many acres did your farm?
Well, when they was husking corn, well, I had to go help husk corn, you know. And when there was wheat and oats, well, oats mostly, well, I had to get up there and shock and make the
bundles.
Oh, yes.
Shock the bundles up. When you were old enough to do that, was any of your brothers they already gone?
Yeah, but they was on their farm there. It was all on my brother's farm and my folks' farm.
Milk cows.
Oh yes, I milked cows and separated by hand, no electricity.
Did your dad have any particular brand of cows?
Yes, Holstein, they give the most milk and less cream, and then there was Jerseys, and they get less milk and give more cream. So we had a variety.
Yeah. Did you separate all your milk?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Have to turn the separator by hand?
Oh, by hand,
Yeah.
and we had, that cream was so good on cereal and everything.
Who got stuck with washing all the parts that
Well,
went into the...
my mother and I, the girls was already gone, and so I was the last one, and I was stuck with all that. But they had to do the same thing when they were at home.
And when you think back now, do you feel that you were put upon, that you wished you would have went on to high school instead of staying home?
Yes, sure do.
But the economic circumstances just didn't allow it.
That's not the old timers. I was born a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
People didn't believe in that.
Was your dad farming with horses?
Oh yes. He never had a tractor. Then my brothers did.
And haying time, I imagine that was quite a
yes.
job.
And then and again, they did everything by horses, and they had me ride those horses, and they'd pull the hay up in the barn, and they'd holler, and I'd stop the horses, and they dumped the old hay there.
Did you have to pull the rope back then, or could they pull it back from?
No, I did. I went back and
Pulled the
started
rope
for
back?
another. Oh.
Did you ever get involved with plowing corn with horses?
The what?
Plowing corn with horses?
That's what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever plow corn?
Oh, no,
you didn't.
not that bad.
How about thrashing rings?
Oh, that was fun. My dad had the engine in the thrasher machine.
He had the separator that.
And then he went around all the neighbors up there because there was the only one there, and then the women fixed great big meals, and that was fun.
Now, did you get to work in the kitchens, or did you have to work outside?
No, what?
Yeah, on the thrashing ring.
Oh, I helped in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Of course, we always made rollicky and kolaches and did all them. It was a feast, I'll tell you.
Was that a steam tractor?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I wonder. Must have been. And then when they for noon, they'd pull that string and make a lot of noise, honk the horn.
Whistle, though.
Then when my dad...
Steam whistle, probably.
When my dad was too old, then my brother took over with the thrash machine, went around the neighbors and thrashed.
Yeah. Did you ever work out around the thrash machine?
No.
Like tend the grain bin or anything?
No,
grain wagon?
no.
Okay. The wives of all these farmers, did they try to outdo each other when the thrashing ring would come to their place? They would try to make
Everybody
bigger and better meals?
Oh, everybody did the best. Everything was homemade, you know.
Did they work together? Or was it
yes.
each family pretty much have to put on their own
They
meal?
all put their own, but the neighbors come and help because it was too much for
Yeah.
one woman to cook and fix meat for all that bunch of men.
Husking and shocking corn. Did
Yeah.
you ever get involved in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
When you did thrash, did you ever use that new straw put in the mattresses? Change this?
No.
You didn't. What did you use for your mattresses?
Well, they had a mattress.
Yeah. A regular mattress, or did they have it stuffed with something?
Well, I think at first that's not the way they were, stuffed with straw.
Mm-hmm.
But then afterwards we had a bottom mattress.
Did your folks raise a lot of ducks and geese?
Oh yes, that was a sad part, and that's what I hated. To clean all those ducks and geese and take them to this place in town. They used to have capones, and they buy all them dressed ducks and geese for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and we had to clean them.
Did your folks ever, did you strip the feathers off of them for
Yes.
pillows?
Why, sure. Feather thick, sure. No furnace. Sleep in the upstairs, about freeze and then feather thick. That felt good.
Did you ever, did your folks ever use goose grease?
Oh, yes.
Didn't they mix it with something else?
Turpentine when you're sick. Oh, boy.
Did you rub it on or drink it?
Oh, no. See, I lived in the old Stone Age.
Did they rub it on and put a flannel over it or something?
Yes, and heated it and put it on, and you never went to the doctor.
If you had a sore
you got
throat or
doctored
something.
at home.
Living on a farm with that many kids, I'm sure kids got hurt and busted up and cut up. Did they ever use a poultice to take out infection?
Yes, when you stepped on a rusty nail or barbed wire fence or something, you bet.
What would they use?
Well, potato, I think, raw potato, and
They'd wrap it around a hot bandage soaked in hot water or
yeah,
something?
something like that, yeah.
Did you ever have a doctor that you remember when you was a kid?
Oh, yes. Oh, Doc Nadlitsky lived in Western. Of course, then his son was a doctor here in town,
Where was Western?
Oh, it was up there by Shoreville on the highway, on the Iowa City Road.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I suppose he had a horse and buggy.
Oh, yes, I remember him coming down with horse and buggy.
Yeah.
When people were real sick, he'd come over to the house.
His black bag.
Yes, full of medicine.
Yeah. Did women have their babies at home?
Oh, yes. We were all born at home.
And did your mother have a midwife?
Well, there was always some neighbor or some woman that come in, and she did it too. I think she delivered most of the grandchildren with Dr. Nedlitsky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did your mother teach you girls how to cook?
Oh, absolutely. Boy, I baked collages. I made them when I was 8 years old. Yeah. Then my brother married a woman that didn't never made collages, so I used to have to go up there and show her how to make it and how to make these rufflicky. And so my mother trained me when I was young.
You were going to make somebody a good wife someday.
Well, I don't know.
Can you think back now, what was some of your favorite dishes of your mother's?
Oh, gee, we had fried down pork, and that was delicious, and sauerkraut and dumplings and collages and homemade bread, noodles, homemade noodles, everything. I didn't know you could buy noodles till I grew up.
Did your folks butcher their own beef and hogs?
Oh yes, and co-pack the beef.
And how about, they probably didn't throw it very much away, did they?
No. And she made Iternitsa and
what was that?
Well, you buy it in Politis, they're made out of head meat, and that was really delicious.
How about blood sausage?
Yes,
did they ever
she
make
made that too.
Head cheese?
Yes, head cheese, you bet. That was all made from head meat, and scraps and stuff. It was clean, but it was just, that was a treat.
That was a day set aside just for butchering, right? It probably took all day.
Oh, yes. I could just see how they cleaned the hair off of it and steam and hot water, dipped it in hot water.
Then it'd all have to be cut up and,
yes. And made lard. The lard was all put aside and cut up and made in lard. And that was I used to love to do that.
Did you? Mm-hmm. And then didn't they take the cracklings or something and make soap out of them?
Yes, my mother always made her own soap. Mm-hmm.
Explain cold pack and fry down.
Well, these nice to cut up the pork chops and all that nice meat, and then she'd put it and brown it, and then put it in this big crocks, and she already had her lard rendered, and so they put a layer of meat and a layer of lard, layer of meat, and my children just used to just love to go to Grandma's and eat that. It was delicious.
Probably made it very tender.
Oh, it was tender. It was just delicious. But the beef, you couldn't fix like that. Again, you had to take and put in jars and salt and pepper and probably onion or something and cold pack it. And then she used that for gravies and soups, and there was no refrigeration.
With 10 kids, I imagine your folks had to butcher more than once a year.
Yeah, because see,
No
some
refrigeration.
couple of my oldest brother and sister were married already when I was born, because my sister already had a girl when I was born. She was 3 months older than I was. My niece, of course, she died a few years ago now. But then the rest of them were all, a few were living at home, you know, and they worked in town.
Did the kids, did they eat liver and head cheese and
Oh, sure.
tongue and...
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Didn't
Oh,
bother you,
they
did
didn't waste nothing.
Yeah, but I know they didn't waste anything, but did the kids eat it?
Yeah,
Or liked to eat
yeah.
it? They didn't mind it at all.
Yeah.
Now you mention it to one of your grandchildren and they
Yeah.
say, oh.
Oh, God. Tongue or... Oh.
With a family of 12, taking a bath must have been an
10,
undertaking. 10 kids.
Well, the one died in infant,
Okay.
you know.
But-
But, of course, they were gone, as I say. They were,
Okay,
you know...
weren't all at home at one
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
How
No,
often
no.
did the family take a bath?
Oh,
Was it a
gee.
Saturday night ritual?
Oh,
or
no, more than that. Yeah, but it was by the heating stove, you know.
In the wintertime?
Yes, oh, God. Oh, gee, it was fun.
Did they ever, who got the dirty water, the oldest kids or the younger ones?
I was alone then. By that time, you know, that they was pretty much gone, you know. So I was alone.
Worst day. I can imagine that was a big event too.
What?
Worst day. Probably
Oh, yes.
took all day long.
Oh, yes. Well, but as I say, most of them were all gone, you know, and so we had a washing machine run by a gasoline engine, I guess. It was awful stinky and noisy.
And hang all the clothes outside.
Yeah, or in the house in the wintertime. A lot of times you hang them out and they freeze.
And then you'd bring them in and hang them from one
Yeah.
end of the house to the
Yeah,
other. And
that's right. That was something.
the house would be so full of humidity, it
Yeah.
just smelled good.
Yes, I'll tell you.
The cook stove, the old cook
Yes.
stove in the kitchen.
Oh, and the stuff tasted so good. I still say stuff don't taste as good as those fried potatoes and chicken on that wood stove.
Yeah. How about, did your folks have an apple orchard?
Oh, my dad had a nursery, and he grafted his own trees, and then we had the most beautiful, red, delicious, and every kind of a apple that he sold in trees, plums and pears. And we ate good. There was a big family, but we had plenty to eat and a clean home.
Did your dad raise bees?
Yes. Oh, and that was a disaster. I hated it because when they go in the field and they swarm, and then he had these all lined up, and you had to know how. And then they had a smoke. They put rags in there and burn rags to hypnotize those things so they don't sting you. And you had to take water and sprinkle over them so they'd come down and go in that hive. I said, boy, I would never want that hobby.
You were talking about he would go out and capture these live swarms that would fly through the country.
That was his bees.
They were his bees.
That was his bees only.
Wasn't that kind of a necessity, though? If you wanted a good orchard, you had to have bees, a lot of bees around to pollinate the fruit.
But he had his whole thing of bees there.
You didn't.
And then he'd sell the honey.
You didn't get involved with the bee operation.
Yes, I did.
Did you?
See,
Did you ever get stung?
I had to, when they started to swarm and they was in the field, I had to watch for them, and there was a big swarm of bees in the air, and you had to watch where they sit, and they sit in a big old gob, you know, and that way you had to get them up there and put that thing underneath and catch them. or you caught it. And you had to wear a net with a straw hat with net around it so they don't sting you.
How about hunting and fishing? Did you ever go fishing?
Oh
as a
yes, we
family?
lived by the Iowa River, just a little ways, and my dad used to go catch all kinds of mudcats and carp.
Did he have any favorite dishes for carp? Did they pickle carp?
Oh yes, and I still do.
How about in the summertime? Did your mother have a summer kitchen that she did the cooking outside?
No,
in?
but a lot of people did. A lot of people did.
How'd you keep your vegetables over winter?
Well, string beans and all that was all cold packed, and then he on the way in the orchard there was kind of a hill, and Dad made a cellar for, and we kept our cabbage, turnips, and a lot of that stuff in there.
What did you put it in?
I don't remember.
Sand or?
I don't know what, but it had a door in it, and it didn't freeze in the wintertime, and it kept all winter.
Did you have big crocks to put it in?
Well, I don't know what he put them in, but I remember my mother used to take the cabbage and hang it in the basement, and in the spring she'd plant it, and it would bloom, and a lot of people don't know how you get the seed out of a cabbage. You take the cabbage, and you raise it in the basement all winter, and then when it blooms, then you gather the seed, and then she planted in the spring and made plants and had cabbage again. That's one thing a lot of people don't know, how that seed comes from a cabbage.
Including me. In the spring of the year, was baby chicks a tradition?
Oh yes, and we had an incubator.
And where did you get the baby chicks? Or did you incubate your own?
Oh yes, That incubator was run by kerosene, and it had a thing. It kept it at a certain temperature. Twice a day we had to go and mark the egg. Every egg was marked, one mark, and we had to turn it over in the morning, and twice a day, and then we'd have to call them, put them by a light, and we could see if that was a no good egg or if it had a chicken.
Is that what you would call candling eggs?
Yes.
Some people used to hold them up to a candle.
Well, we did to a kerosene lamp.
How about home brewing wine? Was your dad a connoisseur of a good home brew? Or?
Oh yes, he had that big thing with the beer tester, and I still have the beer tester. I don't know what I'm saving it for.
Hydrometer, I think they called it.
Yeah, he had that, and when it was ready, then he'd bottle it, and we'd cap it. Then
Did he ever cap any a little too green?
Yes, and he'd pop the bottles. Oh, shucks.
Did he make wine?
Not too much. Not too much wine. It was just a beer.
Would he let the kids imbibe, have a drink once in a while?
Well, no, because they was all grown up, because I was the last one.
Okay. Do you remember Christmases? Was that a special time at your house?
Everybody came home. Big table. Always had a goose or ducks or something. That was a feast.
What goose or duck was the traditional
Yeah.
for Christmas time?
Yeah, we never had turkey.
What was your favorite present? Remember, thinking back over the years, was there anything that you can still remember, that any present that was?
Well, there wasn't too
meant a
many
lot to you?
presents at that time.
What could you expect to get for a Christmas present?
Well, some clothes or something like that, and just very little. We always had a Christmas tree that we went out and cut down. We had a Christmas tree, and the meals and popcorn balls and homemade candy. We had a feast.
How did you decorate the tree?
Well, we had these candles that you lit with. You had to light them, just like in our church. We had a big tree, and they lit the candles, and that was a big day in church too.
They have a clip on them, and
Yes,
you clip them onto
yes,
the branches.
And we all had little plays in church, in Czech.
Did your mother make Christmas candy?
Oh yes, cracking nuts all winter for candy.
Popcorn balls?
Yes, always.
Was your folks church going people?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Did they ever take the horse and sleigh to church?
Yes, that was fun.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Was that
I
a
remember
necessity, or was that just a fun thing your dad
Well,
did?
no, it was just one thing when then the snow was deep. Well, that was.
That's how you got to church.
And I remember my sister. She was married. She had this girl older than me, and they'd come from Oxford in the sleigh, and they had a horse blanket. They used to make blankets. One side was a blanket, and the other one was horsehide treated. So I don't know how they did. I don't remember that. But anyway, it was so cold. They had to cover up with that.
Did they ever put straw in the sleigh?
Yes, yes. I had many rides to school in the sled with the straw.
You got out and you brushed all the straw off so the other kids wouldn't see you.
Oh, yeah. But they all did it, and so you was right in style, you know.
Did your folks ever heat up rocks in the oven or bricks or
No, these
soapstones?
old-fashioned irons that had a handle on it.
Heat them in the stove? And
Yeah, then wrap them up and put it in the wagon.
Were they, what faith were you?
Presbyterian.
Presbyterian?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They didn't probably have midnight services like the...
No.
Did you ever get to go to a movie?
No.
Circuses?
No.
Picnics?
Well, family picnics.
Family
and,
picnics.
You know, yeah.
Was there a favorite place to go?
Well, we always had something by the river.
How about produce? Did your dad take produce to town to peddle?
Well, there was a man that came around and picked up the chickens, the hens that didn't lay, and the roosters, you know, and he come down several times a year, and they got rid of them, and then had the young poultry, you know.
How about the eggs and the cream?
Oh yes, that was always taken and sold in Swisher.
In Swisher.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever go down to 16th Avenue?
Oh yes, I remember there was a grocery store named Barbara's, and they used to buy the honey when we used to have to kind of squeeze that honey out of those things and put it in jars, and they'd buy the honey, and even those little square combs, you know. Yeah, and he always took eggs there. And
How about ducks and geese? Did they sell ducks and geese too?
no, that was in this place on 2nd Street. It was called Capone's.
How about honey? Did he manufacture honey, your dad? From the bees?
Yeah, that's what we used to take to town, and he sold it.
4th of July, does that have any special memories
Oh,
for
that
you?
was wonderful. We had dancing Sioux Falls and Swisher, and bands, and firecrackers. You could shoot firecrackers anywhere. It was fun.
That's when there wasn't so many distractions, and when something did
That's
go on,
right.
everybody come to it.
Kids don't have that fun now.
No.
No.
Was 16th Avenue, was that a booming place when you were a young girl? A lot of businesses and stores? No?
Yeah. At one time there was a dance place there, and we used to go to dances right there on 16th Avenue, and the bank, 16th Avenue Bank, and Ted's Pharmacy, and that's all gone. But Politis Market's been there forever, and it's still there.
Do you think they talk about trying to revive 16th Avenue? Do you think it'll ever come back the way it was?
Oh, it'll be more modern, you know, but it'd be nice because that Secret Bakery there, and they had a modern bakery that went out.
Did you have a pavement to Cedar Rapids or
No.
gravel roads? Or?
Yes. if it was even gravel. But they come to town with the horses, you know. And then, of course, we'd have cars later on.
Yeah. I think you mentioned the fact you used to take the interurban
Yes. Yeah.
earlier in the thing.
Yeah.
Did your folks ever get into farmers market?
No.
They didn't get into
There
that.
was no such a thing.
Okay, so you're getting older now. Did you was you allowed to date boys?
Well, sorta. But my folks was old-fashioned.
Have you were chaperoned and
Well, we went to dances, you know, and we had dates.
where would you go to a dance when you were
Sioux
young?
Falls in Swisher.
How about CSPS?
Yes. There used to be Shibzinki, And that was they used to kind of be, it was a masquerade thing years ago, and that was always fun, and I always went with my sister and her husband. And so.
Was the CSPS, was that something the whole family participated in, the events?
You mean here in town?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, not my folks, no. But there was a CSPS hall in Swisher, and that's where people used to, and that's where we used to go roller skating.
Okay.
We'd roller skate there and go to Stangler's Pavilion to dance.
You were telling me about a special dress-up dance. You remember what you were talking about? I think we were talking about CSPS, and you.
Oh, that was a shibrinke. Yeah, that we could always dress up.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then they give prizes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was here in town.
Yeah. So, when you turned 18, what did you give any thought to what you wanted to do, possibly with your life, or was there any options for young girls back then, or
not too much?
Or did somebody talk you into staying on the farm?
No. Then when I was there, I went to town and did housework.
Yeah. But you did stay on the farm and help your dad.
Till then, yeah.
Till you was 18 years old.
About.
Yeah. Was he receptive to that, or did he wish you would have stayed home and helped him?
No. And then I worked, and then I got married.
Did he ever compensate you any for the work you did?
Who's that?
Your dad?
No.
Helping him out?
Well, no. Got my clothes.
Yeah.
You know.
Room and board?
Yeah.
So what job options were there available for
Nothing.
18 years old?
Nothing.
As far as Cedar Rapids was concerned, unless you had an education.
Did, yeah.
Yeah. So what'd you do? What was your first job?
Well, I worked for Sam Cohen, and he had the family big shoe store. And I worked for Urosky, and he had the family shoe store. And then I worked for Moreland's. They had the Montreal Avenue grocery, and I helped stock the shelves. And then I did housework for him. You know.
The Sam Cohens, what would you have done for the family?
I did. I took care of the children and cleaned the house and cooked. And
you were a nanny.
Yeah.
Nanny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Were they a wealthy family in those days? Would they have been considered?
No, I don't think so. But they were sure nice. They were real nice to work for.
In Jewish?
Jews.
Jewish. Did you? How did a Czech girl cook dishes for Jewish people?
Well, we had two sets of dishes. When you had milk, you had one dish. When you had meat, you ate out of the dishes. And if you screwed up, then they buried in the backyard. That's true.
Yeah. Did they teach you how to cook any Jewish
yeah, sort of.
dishes?
Yeah. The chickens was always had with that kosher salt on it, you know. And it was different. And they ate potato pancakes about for every meal. They loved them.
Did they ever ask to try any of your Czech dishes?
No.
They never did?
No, they were regular, you know. Yeah. And I worked for them. And at one time, the rabbi used to come up there, and the boy, he'd, after supper, and he'd teach him his catechism and prayers. And, you know, at one time, I knew 3 prayers. I knew the Czech, Jewish, and American prayer. But I couldn't tell you they're Jewish now. It was something because I heard it all the time up there.
What they call their language Yiddish?
The what?
Yiddish language or Jewish language?
No, it was in American. Well, I think, yeah. Or anyway, I knew it. It was so many years ago, you know.
Would they give you room and board?
Oh yes,
so
they were real
you just
nice.
stayed right with them.
Oh,
Did they give you let you have a vacation?
No.
Or time
No.
off?
Oh yeah, every weekend I got to go home.
Weekends?
I take the Interurban to School Falls.
And spend the weekend with the folks. What could you expect to get paid an hour doing that kind of work?
Well, I got $5 a week.
Was that considered good pay?
Yes.
Compared to...
Ironed, washed clothes, took care of the kids, and cooked.
Like what time could you expect to be off for the day?
Well, you just stayed there.
Yeah, but
You stayed there.
If Sam would come home late at night, he would expect to have something on the table to eat.
Well, no, they were just real nice. Yeah.
And you work of all the families you worked for, who do you suppose was the nicest when you think
They
back?
were all nice.
They were all nice. And did you get married yet, or when
Yeah,
did
then
you
I
get?
got married, but I got divorced.
What year did you get married?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
That's been so many years ago. Anyway, then I had 2 boys.
Any?
Then I got a divorce.
What was their names then?
Wayne McNeil and Larry McNeil. And then I was divorced 10 years. And then I met George.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So when was your first regular full-time job at a?
Then I got on at Wilson's.
What year was that?
1942.
Was this was during the war years?
Yes.
Was there a labor shortage, or was
Yes.
there all kinds of?
Yes. The women were working at factories.
You told me the Czech name for the Wilson's meatpacking.
Sinclair.
Yeah. You say there was a Czech name the Czechs used to call.
Oh, I don't know.
Slipped your mind. Anyway,
Everybody called the packing house.
did you go to the employment office, or
Yes.
did you have any problems getting on? Or?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And then finally, Leonard Stusak, that was on the police force, he was a good friend of the fella that had the gate up there at Wilson's. And so he told him that I had 2 little boys and I was really, really hard up and I was a good person. And so next day I got on. And I worked there for 35 years.
Mm-hmm. What did you? What was your pay to begin with?
28 cents an hour.
And that was probably good compared to
Sure.
$5 a week. Then.
Yes.
How many hours?
40.
Did you have to join the union when you started?
Oh, yes, I always was a good union member.
Did you have to join the union, or were you just strongly urged to?
Nobody
join?
urged me. I just wanted to.
And what was your first job?
Well, I worked in the sewed casing.
What's that?
Sewed casing, and that was when they first used to put all the weenies and bologna in the regular casings, in the real casings, and they were in barrels, and we had to put them on sticks, and just like they used to coons, and then another girl, they'd put them in the dry them, and then another person would have to cut them and put them out, and then they'd sew them. So I went and I was there a while, and I got promoted, and I got to sew, and that was just a real nice job. Sewing casings, and that casing was to put that, years ago, liverwurst, gave me in that casing that was sewed, and that's what I used to do, and I loved it.
Yeah. Did they have a sewing machine?
Yes, and you regular thread, and did they ever go fast? And there was a standard. Boy, you got your standard out, or you didn't stay on that machine.
How many hours was in a day?
40.
40 hours. 40 hours a week. I mean, 8 hours a day.
Yeah, but I liked it
So how long did you do that?
until they closed.
Why'd they close?
Because then they went to the cryovac, and they discontinued all the weenies. You don't see weenies made it's all casing. See, only Politis still do it, but that was inspected. See, we had inspectors on us all the time, and so everything came to cryovac, and everything was just automatic.
Is that why when you put a hot dog on a grill now it turns black before it's warmed through? Because of the...
Sure, it's on, but they're all peeled now. That was my job. I used to peel them and run them through the steam thing, and then they put them in packages and boxed them up,
Did you ever get involved in any strikes?
Absolutely, everyone. I never would cross the line.
How about, and then what was your next job then after you left these?
Then afterwards, I went in the pump room, and the pump room was curing hams. And we injected, there was a big tank down the basement, we had a big needle, we had to weigh the ham, and certain vein had to get so much brine. And it took about 2 weeks to be trained for that, because if you didn't get all the veins and everything, your ham would turn green. It couldn't cure it. And so I did real good, and then I had the most perfect hams. I don't want to brag about it, but anyway, I got to be the training of the girls to, when they come in there, I train the girls to pump hams, cure hams. And
That's
that was
why.
nice.
That's why it was called the pump room, because you
Yeah,
literally
pump
had to pump this solution.
Pump the solution in the hams, yeah.
How did they? How could the company identify who handled what piece of meat?
Oh, we had to have our number on everyone. That's how they could find out who had the most perfect hams. Because if you didn't get the brine in there and they turned green, well, that number, that girl, wasn't a very good pumper. You know.
Did you find people that? Well, I'm sure you did find people that really didn't care how good a job they did.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Yes.
Then
And we had to cover it with paper. And when you got through pumping that ham, he was nice and fat because it was full of brine.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to put your number on them.
Would they smoke them then? Or
Then they put them in barrels, and I guess they soaked them some more, and then they smoked them in the smokehouse.
How about you were mentioning tongues and briskets?
Yes, and that too. And tongues too. You had to find a certain vein, and you had to weigh them first. And you had to have so much in there when you got through, so much pickle in there. And briskets too. We had the briskets didn't have any. We had to take it and jab them in there, the brine in there, but also had to be weighed.
The brisket, where did that come from on the
Well, it's
cow?
the tougher part of the cow. I don't know, just
On the breast, maybe?
Maybe,
Yeah.
but it was a tough part of the. It's tougher meat.
Mm-hmm. Did you enjoy your teaching?
Yes.
On the job
Oh,
training?
I like people and I enjoy meeting people. They say I never meet a stranger, and that's about the size of it. I enjoyed it, and I showed them where to get the clothes to get ready for work, and aprons. They had to wear boots.
They would be new employees,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
and you'd show them the ropes. And
Yes, and we had to wear boots and leather aprons because it was wet. You know, we got all splashed up.
Was there men and women both working in these departments?
Oh, yes. Only women was curing hams, but the men hauled them in and out, and in vats.
Did you ever have any problem with the men whistling at the girls or harassing the girls? Or
Oh, that's all. We had fun. We had fun. I never had any trouble with anybody up there.
How long did you stay on that job then?
Well, until that closed.
Why did that close?
Because then they decided that it cost too much to train all these women, and so they got the men with some kind of a machine that had all kinds of needles in there, and then they wasn't fussy how they were injected. Then they just jabbed them all over. And so from then I went in the sausage, and that's where I ended up.
You had mentioned the beef house.
Oh yes, and then when I did get laid off. You get laid off for this department, this one, and I worked in the beef house. I worked in the lamb on the sheep.
What did you do in the sheep?
In the sheep, I was. They had livers. We had to split the livers and hang them on racks for dog meat, and the lungs.
You were telling me about sheep offal.
Yeah, offal. It was a sheep offal, they called it.
Offal.
Yes, because it was all stuff for the dog food or stuff like that. It was nothing to be ate.
The organs, possibly?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
You had also mentioned that in that particular apartment they had gang time.
Yes.
What was
and
gang
that was
time?
Nice. Okay, we started 7 o'clock, and instead of working our 8 hours, till 8 hours, if the things were going good and we worked real fast, we got out at 2 o'clock and we got paid for 8.
If you worked together as a group and got the job done.
Yes,
Okay.
and done right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were they real strict about sterilizing all the
Oh yes, we had to wear hairnets.
tools and the equipment?
Oh yes, they were very, very clean. Boy, you didn't dare to pick up anything off the floor and put it in the thing because the inspectors would tag you up.
There was enough inspectors throughout the plant that
They were
would.
inspectors all over. Yeah.
What was some of your equipment that you had to wear? Gloves?
Well, yes, you had to wear. Most of the departments were wet, and you had to wear boots up to your knees, and aprons and white coats, and you had to wear plastic gloves. And then we'd go out at noon to these places on 3rd Street to eat, and you should have saw the people in the summertime with us walking down there with those big black boots and those big white coats on. They'd stare at us.
They didn't know if you were a doctor.
They didn't know what the heck was going on.
Did you wear mesh gloves so you wouldn't cut yourself?
Yes, I still have it. Yes, you had to wear a mesh glove when you had cutting meat, like in the beef house. Then I was cutting head meat, and I had to wear those mesh gloves.
Did the company furnish all this equipment?
Oh yes, and they sharpen your knives.
And then you talked about working in the sausage department. What was your duties in the sausage department?
Everything. First, used to be the old-fashioned peelers, and you'd have to put the meanies in there, and the machine would peel them. And then later on, it was automatic, and it was run by steam, and it was so hot and steamy. You put it in there, it just went real fast, and in the big hopper, and then it go through, and then they'd pack it, and then it goes so many in the package, and go through this cryovac, and it would seal them. That's why you get wieners now in sealed packages. But before that, before we got this automatic thing, we had to take a little metal form, like a size of a weenie, and we put a paper in there that was marked with Wilson's, put the weenies in there, and then take a regular iron and iron it and put it down the chute, and they'd pack it. And that's when you didn't have this tight, they were loose in there. But then pretty soon they got away with that and had this automatic machine that seals, and that's why your wieners are sealed in there tight.
Didn't they at one time use the gut from the animal for casings? Or?
That's when I was in the sewed casing.
Yeah, you were telling me about ruffling guts was one of the.
That was on the kill.
The kill.
Yeah.
What did that involve?
Oh, you got a big stomach, the whole gut, and then you had to tear it apart, and then you go in the place where they use the flushing machine. They had flush the inside out, and I was on all those jobs.
And then what would they use that? What would they use that
then
gut for?
Then that gut would go in these places where they were still using that, but they don't use that. But still, you can still buy chitterlings where people buy chitterlings. Oh,
Did you work in pretty much all of the departments down there?
pretty much so.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I didn't work in the cafeteria and the lasting flavor.
Yeah.
And that's because my husband was a foreman in the lasting flavor. They only worked for him.
That wasn't allowed.
No, I wasn't allowed.
What was the worst department you worked in when you think?
Well, I think ruffling those guts and flushing. That was about the dirtiest. And that ruffling, that was so hard on your hand. I sat in the chair and slept in the chair all night with my hands. That's how sore they were. And I got out of there.
Did you ever have problems later in life with arthritis in your hands?
No.
Never did?
No.
Isn't that kind of a hazard in working in a packing plant with arthritis being in cold?
Well, I would think so.
Cold and damp.
Yeah.
What was the best department you worked in?
Sausage.
Sausage.
Yeah, I ended up on the slicing machine, and that was a good job. It had very big bologna and all the other meats, and put them in the machine, slice them, and I enjoyed that very much.
The coldest department?
Yeah, it was always cold. You had to wear snow boots there.
What was the coldest department?
That was cold. That was always had to be cold. You had to wear sweaters and snow boots.
How about the hottest?
Well, in the sewed casing. Boy, that was hot. There was no air conditioning and nothing in there, and it was stinky and hot.
Did you probably had to keep extra clothes in your locker because you never know where you may end up during the day, what department you may end
No,
up.
you was stuck. You hired in a department by the week and you stayed there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you knew where you were going to be.
We knew how to dress. Yeah.
Did any of the employees ever eat any of the product?
I suppose
that
on
was
the
cured?
side, yeah, like in the sausage, but you're not supposed to.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did it ever bother you to buy or eat any particular
No.
meat product?
No way. No, my mother used to turn me against wieners, and I found out that it's just scraps of meat that are clean, you know, and everything's inspected. Everything is clean. You don't have to be afraid to eat anything that in the packing houses when there was inspectors around.
Mm-hmm. What year did you retire?
1977.
So was it still Wilson's Meat Packing Company at this time?
Yes.
So,
I retired under Wilson's, and I got my pension. In no time at all, it was under Farmstead. And that's, I didn't work there.
you still, and you also got the Wilson's health insurance plan.
Well, I lost it.
You did lose
lost
it.
everything,
Yeah.
you know.
But you retained your pension.
I got my pension. But if I would have lost, well, I don't know. But I'm glad that I retired. I was old enough to retire under Wilson because I got my pension.
Mm-hmm. These inspectors that you spoke of, Cookie, were these Wilson inspectors or were these government inspectors?
Government.
Yeah.
Government. And you didn't dare pick anything off the floor and put it in the package. Nobody ever ate any meat that wasn't just right.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything from when it started, it was scraps of meat, but they were clean meat. Just
The government would get contracts with Wilson's Meat to package meat for the Army and for the different forces. And during the war, do you remember any war effort like bond drives or food stamps? And
we all had to start buying bonds, you know.
Yeah.
And at one time when I worked in the sewed casing, I was real poor at that time, and so I worked in the sewed casing all day, and at night I'd go and they'd sew paper sacks somehow to put under the hogs to send to England. And then I was on the skinning machine too during the war to make money because I was divorced and I needed the money.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of Pearl Harbor?
Yes.
December
I
of
remember when that
41.
happened.
Yeah. Were you working in Cedar Rapids
Yes,
at that
yes.
time? Yeah. Cookie, I'd like to have you introduce your husband.
Oh, well, this is my husband, George, of 53 years.
Where did you meet, the two of you?
Oh, we both loved to dance, and there was a place on 2nd Avenue, was it? Called Top Hat, and they'd have a little band there, and we'd all dance, and that's where us girls used to go when we worked, you know.
Where did you, or when did you pick up the nickname Cookie?
Oh, I don't know whether they want to. It was hung on me because there was a guy that always wanted me to go out with him, and I was just divorced, and I didn't want no part of him. And he'd always tell the girls, I'm going to get that Cookie to go out with me yet. And then they'd come to work, and then they started at me, there's that Cookie, look at Cookie. Cookie, are you going to Top Hat tonight? And that's where I got my name, Cookie. And that was in the early 40s.
Did you, when you first met each other, did you go to a lot of dances?
All the time.
Every Saturday night.
Can you
Every
remember
Saturday.
any dance halls?
Dance over 28 night. That's when George was 28 years old.
At Dance Land?
Yes. Yeah.
Drayport?
Drayport, you bet. We went there all the time.
Skyway? But maybe you don't know. That was the one at the airport. The
No,
old
I
Hunters
didn't.
Airport.
Oh, we went there a
We
few
went
times.
a few
Yeah, I
times,
guess
yes.
so. Yeah.
The Linger Longer?
No, not too
Up
much.
off of Zika Avenue
I
behind.
remember where that was, but I never went up there.
And of course, back then there was no liquor by the drink.
No, you had to bring
No.
your own bottle,
Yeah.
buy your setups, cost 25 cents.
Yeah. Did you have to keep the bottle out of sight?
No.
No, we laid it
No.
on top of the table.
Yeah.
Did it have to be in a plastic bag or
No.
plastic?
No.
They didn't have plastic then.
No.
Did it have to be in a paper bag
No.
then? No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And of course, you weren't allowed to work with each other in the same
That's right.
department.
That's right.
So, did you have any children by your marriage?
We have
Yes.
one daughter.
One daughter,
Yes.
yeah.
And what's she doing today?
You, Tom.
She's working, what's the name of that place?
First
Pfizer's
Pfizer.
computer place. She
Mhm.
does
Yeah,
computer work.
she's got a real good job on computers.
And your boys, Wayne and Larry?
Well, Wayne, he's
Well, let's show their picture while you're
the one next to Nancy.
Okay,
You talking about Nancy's
Okay.
work.
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Wait, Nancy, you tell her where she works.
Oh, we picked that up. We already did.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then Wayne, he's always sold insurance.
Which is Wayne.
That's next to Nancy,
Mhm.
and he's 67 years old.
Cedar Rapids?
He lives in Oak Ridge Lane.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then there's Larry McNeil. They're both McNeil, and he worked at Goss, and he's retired, and he's 63 years old. And so we had a cabin in Delhi, and so we gave him and his wife the cabin, and that's where they're living, and they live in Arizona in the winter. And so that's our family.
This picture of you and George, when was that taken?
Oh, I don't know when it was taken.
Was that an anniversary picture?
I think
I believe it was probably
Yeah.
our 25th.
I probably talk about 25th or so. I don't know when it was.
And the little girl? The little
Oh, that's Chelsea Ann Frank, Franck, and she's 4 years old.
I know we were looking for pictures of the other grandchildren before
I
we
couldn't
started
find
this.
them.
We couldn't find them.
Yeah.
But how many and what were their names and who did they belong to?
Uh,
We don't want to leave anybody out
no,
of this.
there's a Kelly, and she's Larry's girl,
Mhm.
and Mike McNeil too, and that's Larry's, and then Kelly has two little children, Michaela and Shay, and then Larry has two children, Michael McNeil and Kelly,
Very good.
and Wayne never got married.
So what did the two of you do after you retired? Did you have hobbies? Did you travel or anything?
Oh yes, we went on the cruise. We went on 3 cruises, and we just been. We had a cabin in Delhi, and we had it in Corville and Jolly Rogers, and we was up there 10 years, and then we bought a place in Delhi, and right this year we give it up because it was too much for George to keep it up.
Did you have any other hobbies?
Oh, I did craft for years. Yes, I made about 400 shirts, painted them, and just about did everything. I had crafts in
Yeah.
5 seasons, but I
You-
give that up too.
You were telling me that you and George had a love for bottle collecting.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, we belonged to the Jim Beam Bottle Club for, since 1978. That would be about 25 years.
How many do you suppose you had in your collection at one time?
One time I had about maybe 500, yes, but now I'm down to about 100. I've been selling them a little at a time. And
Was there any bottles, George, that had a lot of meaning for you that you hung on to that was your favorite, or were they all your
well,
favorites?
one of them was this Bohemian Girl bottle. It's a Czech bottle, so my wife is fully Czech, so we just hung on to that because it meant something to her. And
it was made by Capone, and so, but we had some real expensive ones from Texas that were
Oh.
worth $500 a piece.
we should have bought those up.
Yeah, we should have brought those up.
You had mentioned the fact that you volunteer for Camp Courageous too.
Oh yes, for years.
What did you do? Did you work at help them in the camp, or
No, we went to a camp, and the Beams Club had a thing going. They give $3,000, and we sold tickets. I was out there selling tickets, and he was a bookkeeper. And every year we got those people. We got them up there, and then we gave Camp Courageous always over $1,000 that we collected through the Beams Club, so we helped him out. Then we got a nice plaque. Oh, let me show you that plaque after a while.
You had a Elvis bottle.
Yeah, we had few, we collected those. We collected about everything. There was no certain thing. What we liked, we collected, yeah.
1955.
And then when we give up, then finally Jim Beam give that up, and so we had to quit. And we was selling pins for Jim Beam to make money for the club, and we give that up because we just figured after years and years we had our share. And so when we retired, we give it up. They gave us that plaque.
To George and Cookie, in grateful appreciation for your many years of service in the administration and sales of our charity drive tickets and our club project. Your devotion in these areas assured their financial success. Your participation will be missed. 5 seasons, Jim Beam Club. Very nice. And what is this, Cookie?
Well, this is the regular dress of the Czech girl. And Helen Zuski was a real good friend of mine down Wilson's. She worked there 42 years in Sausage. And then she got sick and she had to go to nursing home. So we went up to see him, and her son was there from Texas and going through stuff. And he thought that I was such a good friend of Helen's that I'm the one that should have this doll after Helen.
That is beautiful.
And so I asked my daughter if she'd like to have it or if she'd want me to donate to the
Czech Museum?
Yes. And she says, well, it's up to you. You can donate it if I wanted, you know.
Now, her costume, would that been something you would have worn as a young girl to the Czech?
If I would have been a dancer and belonged to it, because the girls that I knew had those costumes, you know, and they're just a slip and they're just...
How many different petticoats?
Look at the petticoats it's got.
George, you look the
And
other
then
way.
there's a proof.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then this one, and then that one. Yeah. And she stands up. And so I was pretty thrilled that
She thought enough of you to
yes,
leave
to give this doll to me. And so
Very nice.
yeah.
Cookie, unless you have any other memories you'd like to share with us, the Cedar Rapids History Center, the Linn County Historical Society would like to thank you very much for sharing your memories with us.
Thank you.